What the hell is that? Hello everyone, Alpine Mesh here with something different than the next episode of Kittens Game. This is a new player's guide to Kittens Game. Some time ago, a friend of mine told me that he was trying to quote-unquote sell Kittens Game to his colleagues. Some of them found the idea interesting, but the moment when they were presented with this screen, they were confused as hell. What? Is that a game? They asked. Those who were brave enough to actually click the buttons were completely unable to figure out what is going on and, more importantly, why. I can easily understand their reaction. Most games these days are exactly the opposite of Kittens Game. Well, does not really make them any better, actually. Probably the contrary is true. Anyway, it seems that kids these days don't know how to play text games anymore, so I decided to fix this terrible situation and make a guide that would allow everyone to have a chance of experiencing this masterpiece. Kittens Game by Bloodriser is a text-based semi-idle incremental village management simulation browser game. Let's take this sentence apart to understand what it means. It is a village management simulation game. It means that you are managing a village where kittens live. They need to collect and eat catnip to survive. Not your regular kittens, mind you, but still cute. Now, I have some bad news for you, or good, depending on what you prefer. It is a text-based browser game. It means no fancy graphics. In fact, no graphics at all. The player has to use their imagination to make sense of what is going on. If this does not work for you, feel free to close the video at this stage. It is not going to get any easier. It is also a semi-idle incremental game, and I want to talk about it in more detail because this genre is somewhat a new development and not everyone is up to speed with it. Incremental games are video games whose gameplay consists of the player performing simple actions such as clicking on the screen repeatedly. This doesn't sound like something I would like to play, even though I'm a big fan of the genre. Let's not come to conclusions here too quickly though. What are the mechanics of incremental games? Player clicks buttons. We know that already. Clicking grants the player in-game currency. That is already more interesting. So we click buttons in order to get money. Sounds familiar, isn't it? Currency can be used to buy upgrades. Now that sounds even better. Upgrades make clicking more efficient. You need to click less to get the same amount of currency. What a relief! Upgrades automate clicking. So you don't have to click now. Now game clicks buttons for you. Essentially, the game starts playing itself. Finally, you can now feel like being a manager. Sometimes it can even play itself when it is not running. Yes, you didn't hear me wrong. You close the game and it keeps playing itself. You open it up again and you have now all the resources that were accumulated while you were away. Sweet! When you reach a point where the progress feels too slow, you can reset your game. It means that you will start over from scratch, but you are going to get significant bonuses that stay with you even after the next reset. Sometimes it could be a currency called prestige that you can use to buy upgrades. Sometimes it is just a plain bonus. After a reset, you will feel even more powerful because now you have all your bonuses from the previous runs and can be even more efficient or lazy. If you prefer that, you decide. Some games have big chunks of their content practically unreachable if you don't do resets. Resets are very important. Most incremental games don't have a victory condition. You can play them forever and be more and more powerful. Sky is the limit. I think this is what makes these games so fun and addictive. Oh, by the way, incremental games are extremely addictive, so be warned. If you have real life that you still like, maybe it is not the best choice for you. Yet. Let's summarize now. In incremental games, you click buttons to get currency, to buy upgrades, to get more currency, to automate clicking to get faster to the reset that will start a new game from scratch, but your clicks are better now. Rinse and repeat. But why is it fun and addictive, you may ask? Because it creates a sense of constant progression. It feels like you constantly get important things done. Who doesn't like that feeling? Because you can optimize and min-max your game so that you feel that the tasks got completed because of your informed decisions and not just luck. Because you feel powerful and get rewarded often. And because you can play these games all day long whenever you have a minute or two to spare, they become a part of your daily routine. One may say they get merged with your daily life, they become the fun thing you do, especially if you have an extremely boring job. Now let's go back to Kittens Game. Well, it is an amazing game that has all the features of incremental games and a lot of depth to it. Let's look at some of the Kittens Game design guidelines. You can find them in the game's Bitbucket source repository. Second, active gameplay should be encouraged but not necessary. It means that when you click, you get resources faster than when you wait for the game to play itself. It also means that you can be lazy and wait until game does everything on its own. Definitely my choice. Every problem or bottleneck should be addressed in multiple ways. This creates a feeling of meaningful choices and gives authority to the player. It also means that you will have to think, very different from the typical AAA game design. Fourth, every solution to a problem should create a new problem. Therefore, you are not going to run out of troubles and problems to solve in this game. This is what makes it extremely addictive and exciting to play. Fifth, design things to be difficult initially and address them with upgrades later. This is exactly why you want to move forward and research new stuff. You always have some pain that you'd like to alleviate. Unless you like pain, of course. I hope I told you enough to make you interested. Now it is the time to have a demonstration of how all of this works together. I will guide you through the first steps of establishing the village economy and give you some tips on how not to kill all your kittens from the get-go. Nobody wants to see kittens dead, right? I think this is one of the reasons people cannot get through the game long enough to get hooked, that get too upset that their kittens keep starving to death. So let's not do that. Let's make a thriving village. So this is the first thing you can see after opening up a new game. That's all there is. It's very simple user interface, it's just text everywhere. And you have only one button available right now, gather catnip. So you are a kitten in a catnip forest and you obviously want to gather catnip because apparently you eat catnip. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here on the left side, you can see that you have 5 catnip out of 5,000. So a little bit about the structure of the screen. On the left side, it's your storage. So here is going to be a lot more, and it's about the resources that you gather, everything that gets produced. All your statistics are on the left side of the screen. So here in the middle, it is everything you can build, craft. It's basically your control panel, and everything you do here in the middle. And the right side of the screen, it's the log. You can see important events or important information that you need to know. So pay attention to it from time to time. And also I want to show you something that maybe make the experience easier digestible for some of you. You can go to the options and here you have a color theme. So I have a classic color theme selected right now. It's the most simple one, and there is a list of other alternatives. Not all of them will be available to you when you first time open the game because you need to perform certain actions in game so that some of them get unlocked, but I just want to show you what options you have. For example, you can have a grassy theme, very green, with a little bit of grass down there, and maybe wood. Everything looks wooden, or maybe just grayish the one which I use in my playthrough. It's a little bit more stylish, I think, than the default one. But for now, let's continue with the classic one because this is something everybody is going to start with. So now we have only three options available to us: gather catnip, refine catnip, and catnip field. So refine catnip, basically you can turn catnip into wood, which we don't have yet. And catnip field is something that produces catnip automatically. So this is essentially how we're gonna start our game, because we don't want to click all the time, and we would rather just see how catnip gets gathered automatically. So let's continue and gather some more catnip. All right, now we have a catnip field available. You see it became black in comparison to this grayish color. Let's buy one. Now, you can see here that now we have production of plus 0.63 per second, and that may not sound so great to you, but think about it this way: in order to get the same amount of catnip, you would have to click almost every second here, and it's quite straining for your fingers. And now it just happens automatically, and the faster it goes, the quicker you can buy more catnip fields. You see now I have 1.25 and goes faster and faster. So that's the way you progress, much easier than just clicking this button, because you see clicking this button I can maybe do like 3 per second, and if I buy more catnip fields, already 3 per second, right? So like it's a really easy way to get there. Now, it is also important to note that catnip production will have different bonuses or debuffs based on the time of the year. So right now it's winter, so we have minus 75% catnip production, which gives us only 0.78. So here on the tooltip you can see production plus 3, but weather minus 75. So you have to account for that, because when we get our kittens, they will need catnip to eat, and if it's winter and not enough catnip gets produced, they may start to death. That is something you have to always keep track of. What I recommend is not getting any kittens before the first winter. We get them after the first winter. And in order to get kittens, you need to have a hut. So in order to get a hut, you need to refine catnip. Because when we refine catnip 2 times, you will see the hut button here on the screen. So now we have 100 catnip, we can refine again, and you can see there is a new button called hut. Each hut has space for 2 kittens, and it requires 5 wood. So we don't have enough wood. We need to wait until we can refine enough catnip to make 3 additional wood for this hut. But we can also build more catnip fields, so this whole process goes a little bit faster. And while we're waiting, I want to explain another aspect of the game. Is that every time you build any of the buildings, they get more expensive. So right now you see the catnip field would cost us 24.76 catnip. Let's build another one, and now it's 27.73. It looks like a slight increase, but over time, the more we build, the more expensive it gets. So naturally, for each type of building, you will see that there is a balanced amount of these buildings that makes sense for you to build. And after a certain point, it takes too much resources and doesn't give you enough return. Because you see, catnip production doesn't get bigger with each building. It only adds 0.63 per second. Now you can see it's spring and we get plus 50%. And here on the tooltip, you can read fields have plus 50% production in spring. So that's how it works. So you may expect really bad production of catnip in winter and really good production of catnip in spring. You can optimize for that when you first start. Now, I would like to get 3 more wood because we have enough resources. 1, 2, 3. Now we can have a hut. While we're waiting for kittens to arrive, I'll just invest a little bit more into catnip fields because we need this food for the kittens. I don't want to get to 0 because they will start starving immediately. Okay, a kitten has joined your village. Let's go to the village screen. Right now we can see all these jobs. One of them actually you will get much more later on as you build more buildings, but for now we can only assign our kittens to be a woodcutter. So we assign one, and now another is available, so you can see it here on the top, and also you can see it here that 3 kittens 1. We assign another woodcutter, and what we can see, our wood goes up automatically because we have two woodcutters now, and it is 0.18 per second. It's not great, but it's still better than clicking buttons manually. So let's go back to the screen. Right now, the goal is to make sure our kittens survive. For now, you can see 7.44 per second. Looks like it's quite good, but in reality, when we have a winter, it might become much more difficult. So let's see how much catnip they need. So there is this demand, minus 8.5. This is exactly how much catnip your kittens need right now. And we want to optimize our production so we can actually produce at least this amount during winter. It's probably not possible to do, but also we have this storage, 5,000. So it means like if we have stored enough for the winter for the kittens to survive, it's okay if this number goes to minus. Catnip fields, we can build more. And I would like to build as many as I can during spring because we have this nice surplus here. Let's say plus 25 for now is okay. And now there is another building available for us. It is library. Just appeared out of nowhere. There is always conditions for new buildings to appear. So either you have to build something or you need to accumulate certain amount of resources. And these conditions are somewhat hidden, but by playing the game and developing further and trying out things and trying crafting things or building new buildings, you eventually discover them organically. So you can see that library is a science building because it improves your science and also it allows you to hire a scientist. We need 25 wood, 1 second. Okay, we have enough. Let's build a library because I really recommend you building all new buildings you see. It's really good. Now there is a new tab called Science. Let's go there and check. We have calendar. It's a great tool because it allows you to see how many days of summer are still left. So you can estimate when it's winter, when it's summer, and you can adjust the production of catnip if needed. How do we get science? So we go here into the village and we see, oh, we have a scholar now. This is a kitten that produces science. We have only 2 kittens, so for now the only way to produce science is to switch one of them to work as a scholar. So I press minus here. Now we have 1 free kitten and we assign it to a scholar job. Here we produce more science. One important information on this screen is this label to cap on the bottom of it. 43 minutes 10 seconds. It means that in 43 minutes 10 seconds of real actual time, your science will get capped by this value. So you will have 500 science in 42 minutes. Very useful to plan your time. For example, if you want to accumulate science, you want to go and do something else, maybe even work a bit, and then come back in 42 minutes and have something researched. So let's have a look. We need 30 science for a calendar and we have only 11. So in 1 minute and 33 seconds, as you can see on the tooltip, now we have enough science. So let's research the calendar. All right, you can see it's complete. And now there is an additional hint on this tooltip, which says effect. Calendar provides a way of more precise time tracking. So these technologies, they don't show you exact information about what they're going to uncover. So it's a little bit of a mystery for you when you play first time. You can, of course, use Wiki or ask people on Discord or on Reddit. But generally speaking, you discover what it does exactly only after researching it. And usually you also get more technologies to research as well. So now we've got agriculture. Agriculture is good for providing food for your kittens. It allows you to be more efficient with your food, and it's a great next science to research. Now there is another tab appeared here. It's called time. Here you have a bunch of information. Temporal flux is the resource that in the beginning of the game you accumulate by clicking pause button here. So when you pause and then unpause, or if you pause and close the browser, you get a little bit of temporal flux. Now you see we've got 1. So what it does, if you turn on this Tempus Fugit, you get plus 50% speed up. So basically, if you were away for a while, you put your game on pause and then you come back, you may get 3000 of temporal flux, and you may use this temporal flux to speed up all production. When the game is closed, you produce some resource which later you can use to boost your production. Okay, so reset. Resetting this timeline, we start the game from scratch, so you will see the first screen, you will have to gather catnip again, you will have nothing there. But what you will get some production and happiness bonuses, and these bonuses you can see here. For now, you get 0 and 0, so it doesn't make any sense to reset, you will just lose your progress. But if you get some karma or paragon points, then it may make sense. So how does this work? You start getting karma points if you reset with more than 35 kittens. It's not exactly 1 karma point per kitten, there is a complicated formula, you can read it on the wiki, but generally speaking, you're gonna get the more karma points, the more kittens you have, so you can always check how many karma points you will get after getting more kittens in your village. And karma points give you 1% happiness for each point and a flat plus 10% happiness bonus when you have at least 1 karma point. And we will see later that happiness is very important for production. And paragon points is something you get when you have more than 70 kittens. And it's going to be exactly 1 point per kitten over 70. And each paragon point gives you plus 1% global production. It's gonna give you a little bit more storage and production bonus for things which are automated. You will build these buildings later in the game. But enough about reset. Now let's go back to our science. And while we were talking, we have accumulated enough science for agriculture. So let's get it. Now you can see agriculture unlocks farmers and barns, as well as other technologies. So we can see here a new building, barn. Barn increases our storage, and it is also extremely important because you can see here max catnip is 5000. So when we buy a barn, we get this number here increased twice. So we can store 2 times more catnip. It means we can feed 2 times more kittens throughout the winter, so we can afford having more kittens. And this is great news because kittens improve our production. So let's build another hut and wait for 2 new kittens to arrive. And while we're waiting, I want to show you something else. We have a new profession or a new job here, farmer. Produces plus 5 catnip per second. So if you compare it with the catnip fields, which produces 0.63 per second, it's a great improvement. So let's assign one of our farmers here and wait for another to arrive. And another one is going to be a woodcutter. All right, so what have we got here? Here we cannot build any more buildings for now. We have a pretty balanced production here. There is a quite significant chance that we will not accumulate enough till winter. You can see 20 minutes, and it's summer, so autumn and then winter, it means roughly around 5 minutes, and it's not going to pick up. So this is a bit of a dangerous situation as I see it. So I like to have a huge amount of catnip on my storage. So what I'm going to do, and I also recommend you do it the same way, when you have this situation, you can actually quickly reassign your kittens. For example, you say, well, woodcutters are great, but I can do it manually, but I need another farmer. So now it's plus 8 and took up 8 minutes. So we have a chance of getting almost full storage before the winter comes. And that is generally what I recommend you in the beginning of the game. Always take care of your catnip storage. Like some people like to min-max it, maybe reassign kittens during the summer to some other places and before winter to reassign them for getting more catnip, or during the winter to get more catnip to just help to boost a little bit of this production. I personally am not a big fan of manual juggling kittens all over the place. I like to just have a huge storage and feel safe about it. Sometimes you may run into a situation where you're like, okay, so what do I do here? Well, I have some library. Maybe I don't know if I need one, if I don't need one. What do I do? Usually, the good way to move forward is to look at your science tab, because usually this is where you get inspiration of where you want to go, or it gives you a hint of what problems it may solve. Let's see. archery ranged weapon known as a bow. We don't know what it is at this stage, it's just curious mining. Develops the ability to extract minerals from the bowels of cat. We also don't know what it means actually at this point. And let's see, we can get archery in 20 minutes and we can get science in 37. So for me, I'm curious, I want to know what it is, I just want to buy the cheapest science and see where it takes me. Now, I also don't want to wait for too long. What can we do so we don't wait too long? Now we have a goal of archery, right? So one thing is, because we have not so many kittens here and we need farmers, we need at least one woodcutter and we need scholars, many of them, but for now we don't have any. We can either buy a hut, but strategically it's awesome, and I think we might get into troubles if we buy a hut because we may not have enough food for the kittens. The other way to move forward is to buy more buildings that increase science production. For example, library increases science production by 10%, so we can buy a library. Actually, let's check. So now we have 18 minutes 46 seconds, we buy a library, and now it is 17 minutes. So it's not a huge improvement, but still you can optimize here and there and you can get pretty good progress. So here is our -3 to 0.39 minutes. It's perfect. So now I'm completely fine with having more kittens. I know that we will be able to survive the next winter even if we have 2 more kittens, maybe even 4, because we will be able to accumulate enough catnip. So now I'm going to jump forward until we can get archery and I can show you how this thing works. All right, we have archery available now, and I just want to show you something I did to get there faster. Here you see I have 0 woodcutters, I have 3 scholars, and I have 3 farmers. So when you need to get somewhere, you may be just thinking, oh, like I want to accumulate all these resources while waiting and stuff, but like in reality, if you want to get somewhere quickly, you may want to just say, okay, I don't need wood right now. I don't need anything else, just want to invest into scholars and make sure farmers produce enough food. And then you can get really, really good numbers. For example, to research archery, I had to spend 20 minutes and then I changed how kittens are assigned and I had to spend 4 minutes suddenly. So it's a great way to move forward quickly. So now I don't need that much science, I just reassign them back to woodcutters. Now, archery, what effect does it have? Unlocks hunters, right? So you can see that it always gives you some information. Also, we have here mining and animal husbandry. They're both the same cost, 500 signs, so how do you decide which one to take? So you can have a look at the descriptions as well. Here it's pretty self-explanatory, because if we look at mining, we say develop, extract minerals. Like we don't know yet why do we need minerals. And domestication allows access to various animal resources via the pasture, improves your food production. So that's a real problem we want to solve, our food production. So maybe this is something we want to move forward to from now on. I think it's enough for the science. We went through the whole application, the user interface, and display the ways of not dying and surviving successfully. So that's the algorithms you can use to start the game. And I think a big chunk of fun of this game is exploration and finding for yourself. For the first time when you play, I really recommend you not to use wiki, not to try to find every possible answer to your questions. Just explore, just see what new science will bring you, see if you can optimize things, see if you can find a way to get a certain resource, and so on and so forth. So this is generally the exploration game. And of course, don't get disappointed if things move a bit slower, because there are moments in the game when you feel like you don't know how to go through a certain problem, but that's also part of fun, because all these sort of bottlenecks are created there in order for you to overcome, and overcoming it feels really satisfying. For example, making sure your kittens survive. Now there are just a few more things I want to show you here. First is this. So that's your happiness, and happiness directly influences how much resources you produce. So basically your productivity depends on the happiness. And you can see here our happiness right now is 98%. Base happiness is 100%, so something is definitely making our kittens a little bit unhappy. We'll see buildings plus 0%, rare resources plus 0%, so it means no effect, and population penalty minus 2%, and base penalty is minus 2%. So basically we just run into a penalty which naturally occurs when you grow your population. The more kittens live in the city, the more unhappy they become. So therefore you have to offset this unhappiness with some technologies, some resources you can gather, luxury resources, you'll uncover them later, and other things. I don't want to spoil the discovery for you. So you need to take care of happiness and look at it from time to time, especially if you feel that your production is somewhat stalling. And now another important aspect, some people might feel a little bit unsafe in terms of like playing in the browser, if their game is going to persist or not. And in general, it is pretty stable. I never had my game destroyed by any problems with the browser, but it is also a great idea, especially when you're somewhat already advanced through your run, to export your save game. And you can do it here, just click options and scroll down and press export. So first thing, you can just copy this text here from this text box, save it to a text file, and then later you will be able to import it, or you can just click this file button and it will save it as a file to your hard drive. So later, in case you need to restore your save game, you can just click here, import, and copy and paste the contents of the saved file here as just text. You can use any text editor to copy it here. And it will restore the whole setup, including the visuals. This way you can feel safe that you will not lose your progress. And of course, there is always a bunch of resources you can use to either talk to people who play the game or get more information. There is a Reddit, Wiki, or Discord. I hope you got enough information about the game to start playing, to get excited, to get interested, to get into it and enjoy it as much as I did. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!